Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great pleasure for me to welcome you to our tonight's webinar about the dawn of the hydrogen economy, recent developments and activities. It's a great pleasure to welcome you all to this event, which has been organized by GIZ in Tunisia, by the Tunisian Green Hydrogen Society, as well as here Hamburg University of Technology and VDI in Hamburg. Again, like last week and the week before, we have a quite interesting program tonight and quite challenging contributions to our webinar. So first of all, we will have a presentation from Claudio Schwalfenberg from TÜV Nord here in Germany about hydrogen guarantee of origin, an overview. This is quite important because according to the let's say, frame conditions set by the European Union, it's quite a question where the hydrogen is coming from to get a certain support. Then we will have a presentation from Johannes Wege from HYPOS in Leipzig and from Peter Mock from the European Power Exchange, also in Leipzig in Germany, about the establishment of a global hydrogen market. What about the stock exchange and how can, let's say, a price detection and price determination be realized for hydrogen. And last but not least, it's a great pleasure for me to introduce Emanuel Henrich from H2 Global, also here in Germany. He will give us an update about the establishment of a global hydrogen market, about the funding program and the H2 Global Foundation. So this is what you can expect tonight. So from that point of view, it's quite a challenging, quite a demanding program. And we are very happy that everybody is here. And of course, I'm very happy to, let's say, welcome the 4 referees for our tonight's webinar. So let me start first with Claudio Schwalfenberg from TÜV Nord in Germany. He will give us an update about hydrogen guarantee of origin. So Claudio, the floor is yours, and we are very much interested in the upcoming news, what you will tell us. Please go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Kaltschmidt, for the invitation to speak tonight. I'm very happy to be part of this interesting webinar series again. Last time I spoke in a different role about the possibilities of converting fossil fuel-powered vehicles to hydrogen electric drive. And today I would like to speak about the possibilities of ensuring that this hydrogen used in mobility industry and the energy sector is, for example, green. So the topic is hydrogen guarantees of origin, and I will also call those GO or GOs during my presentation. My name is Claudio Schwalfenberg, and I work in the business segment Clean Energy Solutions of TÜV Nord. I want to start. Check if this works. I want to start by introducing TÜV Nord as a company really briefly. After, I will address the question, why do we need GOs for hydrogen and what are the benefits of it? Most of you will know there's a rainbow of hydrogen colors, so a definition is always needed. That will be the next topic. In the following overview, I want to show you an excerpt of the existing standards and their criteria, current regulation in Germany, and the challenges hydrogen guarantees of origin face. Last but not least, you will get a glimpse on how TÜV Nord views the future of hydrogen guarantees of origin. Founded over 150 years ago, the success of TÜV Nord is rooted in the traditional steam boiler inspection organizations. Step by step, the state transferred further safety-related tasks to these organizations, and since the very first test of a steam boiler, TÜV Nord has developed along the industrial revolutions into the international technology provider TÜV Nord Group is today. With the business units, industrial services, mobility, engineering and natural resources, training, aerospace, and IT, TÜV Nord Group keeps people and technology safe on land, on water, as well as in the air and even in space. TÜV Nord Group is active in over 100 countries, has a revenue of about 1.3 billion euros, and employs over 14,000 people. Whether engineers, IT security experts, or specialists for the mobility and energy supply of the future. Clean Energy Solutions is, as an operative business segment of TÜV Nord, supports clients in sector coupling and storage projects, in matters of hydrogen economy and reconversion, in connectivity and control, as well as digitalization, which I will mention in the context of hydrogen GOs later. Let's take a look on the background of the need for hydrogen GOs. Energy transition is accelerating due to a variety of factors, like geopolitical situations and measures of climate protection. Germany's goal is to become climate neutral by 2045, and the EU has set the same goal for 2050. To achieve this, sectors that are hard to decarbonize, like steel production and other parts of the industry, the EU needs climate neutral hydrogen and hydrogen products like methanol, ammonia, or jet fuel. To make it easier, I will try to stick to the term of hydrogen products, which includes pure hydrogen as well as these products I just mentioned. So since there is not and foreseeably will not be enough renewable energy capacity in the EU to produce all these hydrogen products, there's a need for hydrogen product imports from outside the EU. But why do we need a guarantee of origin for hydrogen products? Well, a blunt answer to the question is we need to be able to prove where the hydrogen comes from. But more specifically, the EU requires compliance with certain rules along the value chain of hydrogen products. And in order to prove this compliance, the non-transparent value chain needs to be transformed to be reliably transparent. For example, in the production of hydrogen products, it needs to be ensured that the hydrogen is produced in a renewable way and that the type of transport does not completely cancel out the renewable properties. So since we know that we need GOs for hydrogen products, let's take a closer look on how we can benefit from them. Firstly, they help the market ramp up because they help building confidence between stakeholders of the market, such as in incentive systems. States or economic areas can make green hydrogen economically more attractive by means of financial advantages through tax concessions or lower CO2 prices. And market participants prove their compliance with the rules of these incentive systems by presenting GOs. Secondly, the GO system ensures compliance with regulations on quality. Thirdly, more transparency in the value chain increases customer confidence, and GOs can be used to prove mandatory or self-determined emission reduction goals. Lastly, the compliance with these regulations proven by GOs helps to achieve the goals of greenhouse gas emission reductions, as well as the enhancement of environmental and social justice. Before we dive into the current situation of GOs for hydrogen products, let me quickly show you TÜV Nord's perception of the rainbow of hydrogen colors I mentioned at the beginning. We consider hydrogen produced by steam reforming of natural gas without capturing CO2 as gray, hydrogen produced by electrolysis powered by nuclear energy as red or pink, hydrogen produced by pyrolysis of methane as turquoise, hydrogen generated by steam reforming but with CO2 capturing as blue, and hydrogen from electrolysis powered by renewable energy as green. There are even more colors like white, dark green, or orange, but these I just mentioned are the ones that are most common. While gray hydrogen currently has by far the biggest market share, and green hydrogen is the favorite color for the future production. But now let's take a look at current standards and criteria for the hydrogen certification. As you can see on the map, we have even more standards than we have colors of hydrogen, so I won't name them all. The essence is that we have approaches for various standards certifying the origin of hydrogen products, but they are either regionally restricted or adapted to specific circumstances. We find that these standards differ in terms of their general criteria and even more in their advanced social, environmental, and ethics criteria, which are only rarely considered at all. This means it is not likely that there will be a globally harmonized standard anytime soon. Now, focusing on Germany again, I just want to quickly mention 3 of the most important laws in this context. Firstly, the RED II, short for Renewable Energy Directive, which must be transposed into national law in every EU member state. Then the RED II will be revised in July starting this year to become RED III. And it aims to increase the share of renewable energies to 40% within the EU by 2030 and defines the framework for validation of green hydrogen. So far, the rules of RED II only apply for the mobility sector, but the revision will most likely consider hydrogen in other sectors as well. Secondly, the Delegated Act on Article 27, Clause 3 of the RED II, which was passed by the EU Commission just last month, specifies the requirements for production of green H2. And now, what's interesting in the context of GOs is that in the Delegated Act, it says that voluntary and national certification schemes are expected to play an important role in the implementation and certification of these rules in third-party countries, as members will have to accept the evidence provided by accredited voluntary schemes. Lastly, there's the EEG, which translates to Renewable Energies Act. It is a German law that has the goal of promoting the transition to renewable energies and also specifies requirements for green H2. One of its goals is to reach 80% renewable energy production in Germany by 2030. So now we've seen the legal framework for establishing GO systems is evolving more and more, and this I want to show you on the next slide, we still face some challenges. We face challenges concerning the GO system itself, like which criteria will prevail internationally, or how does legislation treat the drive for openness in hydrogen production technologies. Also, compatibility with other market mechanisms must be ensured, and the question of methodology for determining the carbon footprint must still be solved. Also, data collection is a topic with some question marks, especially if we look at digital verification. Is real-time data necessary? What's the granularity of reading intervals we need, and how do we ensure data security? Additionally, it is not determined uniformly which emissions are taken into account and how supply chain boundaries are defined. Also, technical questions like data transmission or interface identification have to be answered. Now, I want to show you our view on future hydrogen GOs. And this is my last slide. In the top left corner, you see our expectation towards criteria for certification. We think it's necessary to not only focus on general criteria like energy supply, but also take into account sustainability. This could mean taking into account the water usage of electrolysis or making sure social and labor standards are complied with. Looking at the top right of the slide, you see we sketched the degree of sustainability over the depth of the value chain, just as an example. We consider a gradual introduction of GO systems to be likely. We expect that over time, the degree of sustainability and the depth of the value chain will increase. Bottom picture shows an example of influencing factors on and relevant criteria for a digital and partially automated verification process. Most likely, digital platforms will evolve to form part of the verification process, and we see a certain degree of automation in a digital way to be able to track properties like electricity production, CO2 footprint, water footprint, sustainability over the whole value chain. From energy production over H2 production to transport and storage. The idea is to implement GO schemes and give all users in the target sectors transparent and reliable information about the origin and the sustainability of the hydrogen products. And with this, I am already finished, and thank you for your attention. I'm happy to take some questions after. I think it would be best if you post them in the chat. Thank you.
Yeah, Claudio Schwalfenberg, thank you very much for this very interesting presentation. I mean, I'm always astonished how much, let's say, legislative rules and how much, let's say, legal frame conditions have been defined and are on the way to be defined, that this market will slowly develop. So therefore, this is maybe a topic which we can come back when we have our roundtable discussion afterwards. So based on this, thanks again for your very nice and very interesting presentation. And now it's my pleasure to continue because the next point, when we talk about a global hydrogen market, then we have, of course, the challenge that, let's say, how or where we can establish a kind of stock exchange where we can find a place where a price is formed and where you can go to buy this, let's say, green hydrogen on the market. And therefore, it's my great pleasure to first introduce Johannes Wege from Hypos and then Peter Mock from EEX in Germany, who will tackle this topic. So first of all, Johannes, the floor is yours, and we are very interested in your presentation. And then I guess we will continue with Peter Mock. So please go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. I hope you can see my screen. All right, I just want to give you a quick overview what our association Hypos is about and why we are cooperating with the European Energy Exchange. Hypos stands for Hydrogen Power Storage and Solution in East Germany, meaning we want to help the green hydrogen economy to break through. We were established in 2013 because we don't want to become a hydrogen region. We are already one. We just want to switch from gray to green hydrogen. So just some key facts. that make us a hydrogen region. One of 2 hydrogen pipelines in Germany are located in central Germany, what you can see here. We already have a very high storage potential of 3 billion cubic meters of working gas, and the petrochemical and chemical industry in our region already consumes more than 5.3 billion cubic meters a year. And we have a very high potential of renewable energy with more than 130 terawatt hours per year. So we want to switch to green hydrogen. How do we want to do that? With the help of more than 170 member companies. You can see global OEMs like Linde, Air Liquide, DHL, or Siemens that are members of the HYPOS Association, as well as very specialized SMEs and research facilities. How do we want to achieve our goal? First of all, we are supporting green power generation. And next step, of course, is hydrogen electrolysis to create green hydrogen. I mentioned before, we have large storage facilities here. And who needs this green hydrogen in our region? Mainly mobility. We need it for energy supply, as well as for the chemical industry and refinery processes. And of course, what do we also need to support a green hydrogen economy? We need a hydrogen grid. And here you can see one existing pipeline in gray from north to south, and everything that is orange is what we planned that needs to be built in our region. And I just want to highlight 2 numbers. We expect a hydrogen demand by 2030 of 20 terawatt hours per year. And even if we use all our potential of renewable energy, and I mentioned before, we do have quite a lot, we can only provide about 10% of the demand we need. So we definitely need to import. The sooner the better. And yeah, therefore we are not talking just about the local grid, we are also talking about a grid going to the Baltic Sea and to the North Sea. And so what are the main challenges we are facing? On the one hand, we need to create more supply of green hydrogen. On the other hand, we need to create demand. We are working to ensure, we are working on the fact to ensure transport and storage. And somewhere in between is HYPOS, to manage it all, to manage this chaotic process in the developing of a green hydrogen economy. And we are happy to announce that we are cooperating with European Energy Exchange that are helping us on the side of how can we create a market price between supply and demand. And therefore, I would like to hand over to Peter.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. And now let's continue with Peter Mock from European Power Exchange in Leipzig. The floor is yours. You are silent. We can hear you.
I hope that becomes better. Can you hear me now? Okay, perfect, perfect. I'm trying to share my screen. Okay, okay. So thanks for the invitation. That's what I wanted to say, and thanks for having me here. Also, thank you to Hypos and Johannes Vega. I think these networks are really very important at this stage of the market ramp up. A few words to the European Energy Exchange, in case not everybody's familiar with our energy exchange. We're on commodity exchange, to be precise. We don't have only energy products, but mainly energy products or energy based products like emission certificates and for example gas, but the most relevant product is energy or power, to be precise. And as a commodity exchange, we are also interested in the market ramp up of hydrogen, and this is something we want to contribute, something, yeah, what we can contribute here. Okay, we have a few activities in this field. We are working together with Hypos, as mentioned already. We are a founding member of H2 Global. And we also have a corporate, well, as H2 Global is here or also tonight, I won't lose too many words on this, as well as on Hypos, who introduced themselves already. And we also have a cooperation with a business intelligence tool from Tyco Solutions. Well, the whole hydrogen topic is comes with the keyword transparency for us. We want to increase transparency in this market. The whole topic is driven by our gas customers, actually. They came to us already a while ago and they said one issue we have when investing in hydrogen electrolyzers is that we don't have transparent information on this market. No price transparency and further transparency. One interesting topic, that's why I name it, is this Nova tool Tyco Solution has in place. This pays on to the account of this transparency story. That's why I pointed out here. They have a map in place with gas infrastructure, power infrastructure, and further information which are relevant for companies planning investments in hydrogen and electrolyzers. And this is maybe one sub kind of transparency, and that's why I wanted to name it here in this context. The main topic why I'm here today is Hydrix, our plan for a market-based price index for hydrogen. As I already said, the gas customers came to us and they said, well, we are having an issue with price transparency in hydrogen, as all prices that are realized in this market come from long-term contracts, and we have no idea where the prices are, except for the very few companies who have a few contracts in place. And the idea of Hydrix is quite easy and comes from indices which are comparable and from markets where we do the same. We just simply collect pricing data and aggregate them and make them publicly available so that we can provide some orientation where the price for hydrogen would be. So we did in the last month some kind of a roadshow, I would say, running around and trying to gather price information on hydrogen, on green hydrogen for the start. We want to provide price information also on gray hydrogen, and not only in Germany, but also in Italy or the Netherlands or other markets, other European markets for the start. But we said the relevant market area would be a national one. And as the subsidies are mainly well nationally driven, and that's why we thought it makes sense to start with a national scheme. And we already heard about the rainbow of different hydrogen products that can be produced. We wanted to start with green hydrogen for the start, because that's where we felt the most support in the market. But it's quite hard to get a hold of pricing information, as not many companies are willing to share their realized prices. We also that's why opened the topic for price assessments, which are not realized prices, but companies who say we would buy hydrogen. We would buy hydrogen for a certain price, and we would also take this into consideration. And well, I tell you the key characteristics of this index. We have no volume weighted average price. We have, we just go for a simple arithmetic mean for the start, because we also wanted to have a spotlight, or we also wanted to take into consideration smaller producers of hydrogen and smaller consumers of hydrogen. We collect this price information once a week, always on Wednesdays or in the middle of the week, and then we have, well, we're an exchange, and that's why we see everything as a market, and we want to gather price assessments on the buy side on the one hand side, and on the sell side price information on the other hand side, and then from these both data points, we simply calculate an arithmetic mean and publish it weekly. That's the idea. And one sec, it's quite a simple mathematic methodology, to be honest. It's not very sophisticated, but that's maybe the way to start. That was our idea. We have more sophisticated indices in other markets, but we don't see the hydrogen economy at a stage where we should make it more difficult than necessary for now. A few last words to what we want to achieve with that. We want to increase price transparency. As I pointed out, we wanted to support the market ramp up and maybe at some point be a relevant player in the hydrogen in the hydrogen economy, in providing future contracts or these typical products that we normally offer. We don't have any plans for monitorizing this index for now. It's really, well, an investment in the best, in the meaning of the word. The problems that we are facing when approaching companies is a few, and one of which is that we want to note this index in megawatt hours or euro per megawatt hours. This is something many companies are struggling with. Our idea is that we have a better comparability to our other products, mainly the gas. And also we simplify in many ways. We don't take into consideration transportation costs, which are quite a relevant share of the hydrogen price. This is also something many companies are not very happy with, but we say the relevant price point is what the consumer pays after all for the hydrogen. So and the consumer pays the transportation costs, and that's why we don't take them into consideration. These are two of the main critics we hear when presenting this idea to to companies. And yeah, I would be happy to hear your opinion on this, as we are all learning in this new field, for us especially. And yeah, thanks for your attention, and yeah, happy to hand over.
Yeah, thank you very much, Peter, for this update about the ideas, what's going on at the European Power Exchange to start with the idea to make a kind of price finding or price development at a stock exchange. So thanks very much for that. And let's come back to this afterwards when we have the roundtable discussion. And now let's continue. And it's my great pleasure to introduce Emanuel Henrich from H2 Global. He's from the H2 Global Foundation, as I understood, and he will give us an update about the establishment of a global hydrogen market, what are the funding programs, and what are the goals and ideas of H2 Global. So, Emanuel, the floor is yours, and we are very much interested in your presentation.
Thank you very much. I think, or I hope you can see all my screen.
Not yet. Not yet.
So I have to accept.
Yeah, now it looks better. Yeah. Okay, thanks. Let's go ahead.
So thank you very much for having me. I've been asked to give you an overview of H2 Global, an instrument to promote the rapid development of the H2 and the Power-to-X market. I'm working for the H2 Global Stiftung, and this is a non-profit foundation which has developed and implemented the instrument H2 Global. For its purpose, the foundation has established the intermediary HINCO, a market maker between the supply and the demand market. When we started developing the funding instrument, it was our response to the dissonance between climate targets and the existing instruments to reach a fast reduction of CO2 emissions. As you all know, our society is on the one hand striving towards greenhouse gas neutrality, but on the other hand, we really lack of appropriate instruments to promote the transition of the industrial, the energy, and the transport sector on a large industrial scale. So looking at the hydrogen and the Power-to-X market, we don't really see a real market yet. But why? The low cost of fossil energy sources and the high transition costs in plant construction, but also logistics and looking at the use of green hydrogen sources, this all leads to a simple but very strong lock-in effect, which again leads to a market failure. For example, just imagine you could sell oil or coal at a high profit or run a steelwork on coal at low costs. So you see the incentive to invest in renewables and H2 technology is low, especially if you are also competing with many other suppliers on the world market. To put it simple, we observe the chicken egg problem that on the supply side, long-term purchase agreements are needed for H2 investment decisions, while at the same time, the demand side is waiting for the prices and also product volumes high enough to redesign manufacturing processes like a steel factory. And this is where H2 Global comes in. The idea is to simulate a functioning market so the scaling can take place for the first time and supply chains can be established. Our aim is to bridge the existing market uncertainty until a regulatory framework has been developed. So to help overcome the described market failure, our intermediary and the hydrogen intermediary company HINCO will conclude long-term purchase contracts on the supply side and later short-term sale contracts on the demand side. And then there's a difference between the supply prices and the demand prices. which then will be compensated by HINTCO with grants from a public funding body. Currently, the German government is the first provider of funds for the instrument with 900 million euros. The H2 Global instrument is a very defined system that can be used flexible by the funding body. We are talking about long-term purchase contracts over a period of at least 10 years. The funding volume, the products, everything about the geography and the sustainability criteria shall always be defined by the funding body. So it's not defined by the foundation nor by HINTCO, but by the provider of the funds. The instrument is based on the contracts for difference approach, which helps to minimize the risk of supply and demand, thereby enabling the new technology to be scaled. To be more efficient, prices are always determined by a competition-based bidding procedure. This means in compliance with the criteria defined by the funding body. The lowest bid price on the left side and the highest sale price on the right side are awarded the contract. So this way, the price gap to be compensated is always as low as possible. The mechanism, of course, can be applied for the promotion of pure green hydrogen as well as other green products. It also can be used as an import instrument, but also to promote local green transition. At the slide at the top, you can see the long-term contract with the supply side based on a fixed price. That's the straight dark or blue line. And to further increase the efficiency, on the other side, short-term sale contracts are concluded with the demand side. These are the green steps. And this way, the expected increase in willingness to pay and market prices for the green products will lead to a reduction of the funds needed for the compensation of the price gap. Now, these short-term sale contracts may be realistic in some sectors. For example, the aviation industry buys jet fuel on a 24-month cycle. For other sectors, such as the steel industry, we will need longer periods. So this is all there is about the instrument in general, but when it comes to implementing, we are talking about customized funding windows based on the flexible instrument. So what is an H2 Global funding window? H2 Global can be adapted to the specific needs of the funding body and the addressed market. Each provider of funds, such a federal ministry or an institution or a country, can set up its own funding window with very specific criteria and then provides the funds for the compensation of the price gap. Each of our windows shall be defined by the funding body in terms of the geography, the Power-to-X product selection, all the requirements and the sustainability criteria. In this way, the provider of funds, like a federal ministry, can target its own window to its very specific objectives. For example, with a focus on the promotion of green technology, or the diversification of green energy partnerships, or the decarbonization of a very specific sector like the aviation industry or the steel industry and so on. Of course, it's also possible to combine different targets. The first funder of H2 Global as a mechanism is the German government with an amount of 900 million euros. So they set and defined the window and the criteria. When we look at the geography, the first window is oriented towards chasing outside EU and EFTA, and then a delivery of the green product to Germany and Europe. The chosen products for the first window are green ammonia, green methanol, and green sustainable aviation fuel. These derivatives have been chosen because one can rely on the existing transport infrastructure, but in future we will use H2 Global for pure hydrogen too. Looking at the criteria, electricity from additional renewable sources must be used to produce the product. Then there's a focus on the creditability on the European market, which is why the existing and the emerging European legal framework is taken into account. Mr. Schwalfenberg gave us some insights on that a few minutes ago. And emission saving of the product shall be at least 70%. Now, what HINTCO, our intermediary, did last year was transferring all these definitions of the grant notification into tender documents. And currently, HINTCO is in the middle of the award procedure. Now I'm jumping back to the modular system because there are another 3.5 billion euros for H2 Global earmarked in the German budget for the year 2023. So there will be more money for additional windows. The money will be provided from 2026 to 2033. And currently I can't give you any details about the design of the window as this is still under negotiations with the German government. But there will be more money. In addition, the Federal Ministry for Transport is providing a further 1.4 billion, which will be available from 2027 with a focus on derivatives for the transport sector. And then there are other countries and institutions thinking about using H2 Global. First, the Dutch government is working on its own H2 Global funding window. This was announced early October 2022 on a joint press conference by the Dutch Prime Minister Rutte and the German Chancellor. Currently, there are internal review processes underway to make the funding possible. Second, there are other countries like Austria, Australia, Belgium, and Portugal, which are highly interested in using H2 Global. Third, there are talks underway with the European Commission about a window financed from EU funds. So in the future, H2 Global could or will be one element to further diversify the energy sources on EU level. It will be one part of the H2 Global, or of the European Hydrogen Bank. We are currently working on a concept and are in very close negotiations with the Commission and very close supported by the German government. So this is my last slide. I told you about the compensation of the price gap, but who is financing the development and the implementation of the instrument? There was the unofficial deal between the public and the private sector that the private sector pays for the implementation of H2 Global and the further development. And in return, the public sector provides the funding for the price gap. The implementation is therefore carried out by the non-profit H2 Global Foundation based in Hamburg with our donors from the private sector. Purpose of our foundation is climate and environmental protection. And of course, the most important instrument currently is the H2 Global instrument. A very important element of our foundation's work is also the application-oriented research and analysis work that accompanies the instrument and the market ramp-up with the aim to identify potential for improvement. And there is always potential for improvement, which then can be used by the funding bodies or other institutions to define further windows or to shape the further promotion of the market. Thanks to our foundation model, it is really ensured that in compliance with procurement law, our donors, like everyone else, can apply for the award procedure of HINTCO, because the criteria is always set by the funding body and not by the foundation nor by HINTCO. So we created a firewall between the Foundationsberg and the tender process. And I think that's a good model for the future, not only for the hydrogen sector, but also for other sectors which have to be promoted by the state. So that's all about H2 Global in a nutshell. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Manuel Henrich, thank you very much for this very interesting update about H2 Global. I was not aware that there is such a lot of, let's say, money behind this activity. So let's say if you have some surplus money, we as a research institution, we are always happy, to get any additional funds. Okay, I'm joking, I'm kidding. So, but honestly, I mean, it's true, for research, we also can get money. It is no problem. Okay, thank you very much again for all of you for this presentation. And let's say there are not too many, let's say, comments popping up in the chat so far. So therefore, let me maybe start with my point that, let's say, I understood from you as H2 Global, you are trying to stimulating the market, that the market is more or less ramping up. And then I understood from Peter Mock from the European Power Exchange that they are trying to find the kind of marketplace, let's say, together with the gas market and with the electricity market to bring these different, let's say, market players or market actors together. Do you have any, are you collaborate together, or are you work together, or is the H2 Global the starting point and then you will pass over to the EX, or how is the idea behind, how is the index, let's say borderline or the exchange or the working together between you from H2 Global, let's say Foundation, and the European Power Exchange?
I think this is a process or processes in parallel. We will cooperate, and EX is also one of our donors, but it's not the intention of HINTCO to become a new stock exchange. As soon as we see decreasing prices and the development of a real liquid market, the instrument is no longer needed, and then market maker and stock exchanges like EX can go on and further develop the market.
So is there anything you would like to add, Peter? You're still silent.
I'm double muted. always forget about one of them both. No, that's basically the idea. I think for the start, H2 Global is, I think, the perfect instrument to ramp up the market. It really goes into direction we also support by bringing in additional hydrogen into the market. We have a lack of supply, I believe, and these very fixed prices over long terms and over long periods, they prevent hydrogen from becoming a product that could be traded at some point on an exchange. So that's why everything that brings some volatility into prices is something that we think is a good idea. Yeah.
Okay, then let me put it in my term, or my words. So basically, H2 Global is preparing the market with public funds, and then let's say pave the road that this market can be, let's say, put on a commercial basis, and then EX will take over. So if this is. Yeah.
Maybe to put it right, we're an exchange, and what we offer is clear trading. So this is on a timeline, really the last step. We don't have any plans for commercializing Hydrix, and we don't have any plans for commercializing hydrogen at this point. Of course, we have an idea that maybe at some point in the 2030s, we may have a market that is ready for exchange trading, but there will be many steps in between, and it really is not clear whether we go down that road so far. So so in the very best case, you're right, but it's not as simple as the public pays for the market that we will profit from one day.
Because currently there's no liquid market, and this is why you need instruments like H2 Global.
Okay, then sorry for putting this too, let's say, too not correct enough. So thank you very much for this clarification. Let's say if we talk about this market, I mean, then I think there are 2 points which has to be tackled. On one hand side, how you take care that, let's say, it's green hydrogen or it's a certain type of hydrogen, as we understood from Claudio Schwalfenberg, that we have to, let's say, take care that it's the right hydrogen and not the wrong one, maybe, or the wrong color, or however you call it. And the other point is, how do you keep into consideration that, for example, you would like to import the hydrogen from, let's say, Tunisia or from other country? Is there kind of certification behind, or is there kind of, let's say, taking care of this? How do you see this? Maybe we can start with you, Emmanuel, and then if Claudio is still there, then maybe he can make a statement about that.
Yes, of course, we need certification and standardization for a liquid market, and we need guarantees of origin, like TÜV Nord is developing. This is something what is part of the tender documents, and there will be all the criteria is set by the ministry, and we are only able, or HINTCO is only able to buy green hydrogen, and of course players like TÜV Nord will help us to standardize and create certification for the import of green products.
I can only completely agree to what Emmanuel said. Yeah.
But is there already a scheme, or is there already a, let's say, list of demands or a definition of such green certificates, which is, let's say, basically then must come from the RED II, if I guess, or if I understood it right? Does this exist already, or is this still under development?
Well, it's kind of still under development. The delegated act for RED II concerning the Article 27 defines more clearly what how green hydrogen has to be produced in terms of renewable energy that is used for it. But this delegated act has just been passed by the Commission, the European Commission, and the Council and the Parliament, the European Parliament and Council still have to agree to this delegated act. So we still don't know 100% surely if it will be like it was passed by the Commission right now, but it's very probable that it will be passed in this way. So that's one way green hydrogen could be defined, but the RED II does not really take into account sustainability aspects. So that's one thing that still has to be worked on, and yeah, we really appreciate that H2 Global focuses on that too, and other standard owners, for example, like ISCC or RSB, they take also sustainability criteria into account and are working on certification schemes for green hydrogen.
Okay, but I mean, the European Union has only the legal competence for the European Union or the member states of the European Union. And I mean, when, for example, we like to, or somebody likes to import hydrogen from Tunisia, for example, how does this is then realized? Do they have to deal with the European standards, or are there some differences?
Yeah, so that's what I meant in my presentation when I said it's still open which criteria will prevail, because if, for example, China sets up a certification scheme and the US set up a certification scheme and the European Union, then countries like Tunisia have to decide on which certification scheme they build their systems and how they lay all that out to fulfill these requirements, because it's hard to fulfill all of them. So they kind of have to decide. And yeah, that's so there is, sorry?
Yeah, just go ahead.
Yeah, so that's still open, and
yeah, but when you say that there's, for example, a certification scheme for the US and maybe for Europe and maybe from China or whatever, but what is then the consequence in the years to come? Is this, do we think we will see a global certification scheme for green hydrogen, that it can be traded globally, like crude oil with a, let's say, stock exchange somewhere, with the, let's say, lead market for a price finding for a certain quality, like we have the euros or the dollar per barrel? Or how do you see this? Is then the H2 Global Foundation the starting point to develop such a global market? Or what do you expect in the years to come?
I think this is very hard to say, and just like Mr. Schwalbenberger just said, we will see in the future. Of course, H2 Global can help build up green partnerships, and then when we import products from partner countries to the European common market, it will have to be good enough for the European standards and certification scheme. But this is something which has not been developed yet. The legal framework is currently developing, and so certification and standardification.
Maybe I can again add to that. Well, it says in the RED II, or the delegated act of the RED II, Article 27, that those rules also apply for countries outside of the EU. So that's what, for example, Tunisia and other potential hydrogen exporters can look at and adapt to be able to sell hydrogen to the European Union.
Okay, and do you? I mean, okay, of course, it's a view in the let's say crystal ball, yeah. But nevertheless, do you think that, let's say, the standards what the European Union is currently developing, that they will then be acceptable on a global scale, that we have that we're setting the rules for developing global market? Or do you expect that, let's say, other countries like the US or China or whatever will come up with different market rules or market demands or certificates? What is your expectation this way?
That's a difficult question. And a hard decision for the policymakers too, because if you set really high standards, make a strong criteria on energy supply and sustainability and all that, then maybe others will only set lower rules, and then the producers will go with the lower rules, the easier way. So that's yeah. That's a tough decision to make, and we don't know yet which way it will go. I don't think there will be a globally harmonized standard, because it's really hard to get all those requirements under one roof. But yeah, it's challenging to define that.
Well, we will see how things develop in the years to come. Well, thank you very much for that. And with this, I think we can slowly come to an end tonight. Maybe let's come to a last question. If we, let's say, think, as I usually try to ask, 10 years in advance. So let's assume we are now in the early 2030s and not in the early 2020s. And what do you expect as a, let's say, hydrogen guarantee of origin, Claudio, in 10 years? Do you think we will have a global system in 10 years' time? Next question, I know.
Well, as I said, a globally harmonized system, so one system that fits all, I don't think so. I think there will be more because there's too many hydrogen markets to be played on. So there will be some, definitely. There's some very good approaches from voluntary scheme makers like ISCC, for example. ISCC Plus can also already be applied to hydrogen products now. It is really possible right now. The ISCC EU standard, for example, has to still be adapted. And then it will be called ISCC RFNBO, so renewable fuels of non-biological origin, I think. So that shall be the name. We'll see a couple, I think, and yeah. So,
Okay.
but yeah, in 10 years there will be a more advanced hydrogen market going on, definitely.
Okay, thank you very much for that. And let's come to the next point, establishment of global hydrogen market stock exchange. Peter, do you think that in 10 years' time you will trade hydrogen like you trade today electricity and gas at the European Power Exchange in Leipzig and I guess Paris? Is your second standpoint?
Yeah, we have, I think. Well, am I unmuted this time? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the European Energy Exchange has about 40 branches all over the world. So we would seek for an international market, obviously. However, I think one step back, this green characteristic of hydrogen. For a functioning market, I think it would be really relevant to separate these two, to have the green characteristic of this commodity on the one hand side and the commodity on the other hand side. I think this is a precondition for having a larger market, or it would be a good step to have a better functioning market in. For hydrogen. It will be really hard with mass balancing to have a market which is well open to many players and liquid.
But well, you also have today a market for, let's say, biodiesel. You have a market for, let's say, for green electricity. You have a market for biomethane. I mean, the green markets exist already.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And I think the market for green energy or for green power is a good example there. You trade the power on the one hand side, and on the other hand side, the certificates to get your power green. To separate these both points, that's really relevant from our perspectives. This is really one key to get this market started in a more liquid and more liquid way, and to see more trading activities.
Okay, and to come back to my original question, do you see in 10 years' time that we will have a, let's say, substantial amount of energy traded at the European Energy Exchange in hydrogen? What is your expectation?
Well, I think we will see steps to that into that direction. I'm not sure whether we will have a liquid market in 10 years. But well, I'm optimistic. Of course, we will, and the European Energy Exchange will be the main hub for for hydrogen trading globally. We'll see.
Okay, we will see. Maybe in 10 years' time we will have another webinar, and then we can check if your statement is right. Anyway, thank you very much for that. And let's come to the last one, to Emanuel Henrich. Again, the same question. Let's look 10 years in advance. And do you think that, let's say, the work of H2 Global will be successful, that you, let's say, develop the, let's say, functioning market? What is your expectation?
I'm really sure that we will be one brick on the way to the developing of the market. We really need to scale up the technology now. So the industry needs a signal that they can start building up product plans, and the logistic industry needs the signal that they can build up their logistic chain, and so scaling can take place. And I think we will be one part in the developing of a liquid market, yes.
What do we see? Maybe the final, how do you see the competition between, let's say, Europe and the US and stuff like this? You think that, let's say, Europe is a forerunner in this way? Or do you think that, let's say, Europe is somewhere, let's say, lost in space?
I think we are, or we have to be very careful so we are not losing what we achieved in the past, because the US government came late but very strong, and now the European Commission has to react to the Inflation Reduction Act.
Okay, so we will see how it develops. Okay, with this, gentlemen, I think we can finalize today or close our webinar. First of all, I would like to thank all four of you for this very interesting presentations, for this very, let's say, interesting insights into market developments, into the legal frame conditions. Thank you very much for that, Claudio Schwalfenberg. Thank you very much about the view in the stock exchange and the ongoing activities from Johannes Wege and from Peter Mock. And thanks, of course, also for the view on the H2 Global Foundation from Emanuel Henrich. Before I finalize and close this session for tonight, I first of all would like to thank especially Wolfgang Tuschewitsky and Felix Mendler for taking care that from the technology side, everything works smoothly. I mean, we are a technical university, nevertheless. I mean, where technology is, there might be failures, but it works quite nicely. So thank you very much for that. I would also like to thank very much Faisal Suisi for translating our German English into proper French. So thanks a lot also for this very much, Faisal. And last but not least, I would like to thank Shokri Aslush and our Tunisian colleagues for taking care that everything is also on the road and on the way in Tunisia. Last but not least, I would like to announce that next week, same place, same time, we will have two market examples, one from Germany and one from Tunisia. So it's my great pleasure to announce Mongi Marzouk, the former Minister of Industry from Tunisia, will give a presentation next week. And then it's also my great honor and pleasure to announce for the 22nd of March that we have a, let's say, country report from the US, from Dr. Sauer from NREL in Golden, Colorado. She will give us an update also about the Inflation Act, which just has been mentioned. So there we get first-hand information about the situation from the US and the plans in hydrogen from the US, and the same also from New Zealand, from Professor Sally Brooker from New Zealand. And then we will further go on about hydrogen technology applications. And then we have some more country reports from Southern America, from Southern Africa, and from the MENA region. So from that point of view, it still keeps challenging, it still keeps interesting, and we would be very happy and pleased if you are, let's say, stay with us next week, Wednesday, same place, same time. With this, thank you very much again to everybody. I wish you a beautiful evening, enjoy yourself, and hopefully see each other again next week, same place, same time. Bye-bye.